For the most part, I got one over. I like this Professor X. Hey guys, welcome back to the YKB, Why Keep the Box Collecting, where we immediately destroy the value of our figures by freeing them from their plastic and cardboard prisons. I got you something nice today. When shopping at Target, I got you X-Men Professor X Savage Land. Now, I didn't really care too much about the Savage Land Professor X. My Professor X, can't walk, so, you know, can't remember if this is when he got a new body or if he fell over. But this is when they're with Kazar and all of them. So, do we need this Professor X? Maybe the wind will tell us. Let's take it to the table. Now let's look at this box real quick. Unlike most of the retro cards, I quite like this box. They have the top corner pieces like the old comics did. It has the uncanny on top that just reminds me of the X-Men TV show. They have an art drawing of Professor X over here. To let you know it's a Savage Land, and you can see the entire figure. This box looks pretty good. You got legalese, his little saying in all the different languages, and it looks good. A lot of people can complain about packaging nowadays, but if you're an inbox collector, you're not complaining about this. Now, what I can say is, I don't really care too much about, Savage Land X-Men, but a lot of people were saying they can use this as a mechanic body. Now, I don't think so. It looks too weird, and it has the X on the side, if you can see. Shows it up there. But I'm getting ahead of myself. It doesn't matter. This box looks good. That's all that really matters in this part, in this section. But let's free them, because here at the YKB, we don't care about boxes. So let's take them out, see what he's working with. One thing I gotta say is, I don't like the tape. Why do they do the tape? Now, what can I say? The, the figure looks good. It does have a strong smell, which is weird. This is the first time I opened up a figure and had that weird plastic smell. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but this one smelled a little different. That's besides the point. The figure looks good. The paints are where it needs to be. The color kind of pops, and it really doesn't need much. It's a guy in a suit. A guy in a jumper suit. Looks like he's about to do a Dave Chappelle Netflix special. But Professor X looks, I don't know, the face real works. Let's bring that up close. The face real works. The body looks clean. It clearly looks like they used the plastic from the Vulcan mold. It doesn't seem like there's a hard plastic on it. It seems, I don't know, whatever that Vulcan body mold plastic they used. I don't know, I kind of like it. Maybe it might be taking back my criticisms. But now that I have them here, let's do some articulation. Now, Professor X should be always to use his arms, because that's kind of the only thing he can use. Arms can do a perfect T-pose. Crunching in and back, though, is going to be an issue. There ain't much mobility there. It looks like they actually put some work into the head and the neck, because you can just tell it can move. Definitely seems like somebody used the G.I. Joe molds to get him to be able to move his head and neck. Waist swivel, that looks pretty good for the way they did it. There's not that crazy jarring, waist twist. No drop down hips though, and he can't do a split, but He is in a wheelchair most of the time. Not in this arc, though. So he should be a little bit more nimble. And look at that knee. That cut is a little bit rough. Not Daredevil rough, but still rough. The glove piece is an overlay, which works. Looks pretty good though. I like how they painted the inside of this. This could be bare plastic, but it's not. They actually painted this with the buttons, which is nice. Do double jointed, and just like before, that cut is kind of jarring. Boot swivel, which works. Ankle rocker, which is pretty standard. No drop down hips. So, that's that. The arms are kind of gummy, which are an issue. It's both of them, it's not just one. I would say he's pretty good on articulation. There's really no complaining about it. Now, Professor X doesn't come with much. He comes with 1, 2, 3 hands, 2 shooters, and 1 pointing. So he's Captain America. Obviously, he does it to his head. But you would think he would come with 2 of these. And I don't know. Professor X is packing. And his trusty Cerebro. Cerebro. Doesn't matter. Y'all know what I mean. So, he has a portable version, which is fine. It works. Hasbro's done a couple of these, which I will show you in a little bit. Why not do it now? So we got Professor X over here doing his thing. Let's put on Cerebro. So he can find the mutants. Let's do some Cerebros and some Professor X's. Why not just do them both? Now, I think these are all the quote unquote essential Professor X's you need. Um, that one that just fell, it's not essential. Don't need it. But I got it because I wanted the Build-A-Figure. So that was that. Definitely in the back. Definitely an essential. Definitely must have. Every 90s kids, 2000s kids, definitely needs Professor X in his hover chair. No exceptions. The only reason you need this one is because it's like $10 at Walmart. Dirt cheap. But out of the 4 Professor X's I have, because I don't really collect MCU figures, the Savage Land's kind of number 2 on my book. Obviously, OG's 90s is probably better. Here's the effect for that one. And you can see, let's just compare Cerebros real quick. You can just, by looking at them, see the difference in design. I believe this is much more of a movie design. Or this is the design. This really looks like it's just a helmet, which is very much similar to this thing. But let's compare the, Professor X's. Obviously, we have the OG greatest when Marvel Legend was coming back in its game, the hover chair. And I think the Savage Land actually looks pretty good on it. Like, let's take him out real fast. And let's see how Savage Land looks in it. He works. Works and looks good. But Savage Land kind of holds up. In my book, he's number 2. And all the Professor X's. I know some MCU people or movie people could probably say the Patrick Stewart version is number 2. Or they're number 1. But he's my number 2. He's kind of winning me over. Just to compare the different heads, I kind of like how they went with a neutral kind of head and not so much as a smarmy looking one. This one definitely looks like he could be the brother of the Vulture, where this one kind of gives much more of a Professor X feel. They both work, but I'm liking the new one. I'm going to leave this on real fast because I just want to do some comparisons. We have Professor X, we definitely have to put his BFF, Magneto, and his lovely brother, Juggernaut. I could stick out his son as well, or was it Shadow King, or whatever it is, but let's be honest, we didn't get a great representation of his figure. We just had that Bath figure, that with the extra head, which kinds of works, but I like this. What I don't like is Magneto is shorter than Professor X. I've always seen or made them look very unique. What I prefer is Magneto be a little bit taller than Professor X. That's what I'm trying to say. Just to see in comparison. The Patrick Stewart is a little bit shorter. Just a tad bit. I call it Patrick Stewart, but, the comic 90s version or whatever. But besides all that, let's get into height and scale. Professor X looks about to be 6.5 inches, which is kind of tall. It's 2 inches from side to side, which is fine. That seems kind of standard. Not much to complain about there. Just because I have him here, let's compare him to Juggernaut, which massive, which works. His Shi'ar armor, it's kind of same height, works. Magneto that we talked about, feel like he's a little bit too tall. Whenever they came back to the future, or brought them from the future, seems fine. He's a little bit shorter. But let's do the other figures, the non-Marvel Legend figures. Do Loyal Subjects and SH Figure Arts. Marvel Legends. Star Wars Black Series. McFarlane Spawn. G.I. Joe Classified Series. And a NECA Turtle. For the most part, I got one over. I like this Professor X. I thought I wasn't. I don't really care too much about the Savage Land, but the figure itself won me over. He looks good. I think he's just a little bit too tall. I don't know, that's kind of been my problem with Marvel Legends lately. They've been kind of scaling everything higher and higher. So it's kind of just throwing everything else off a scale. I'm like, Spider-Man is kind of bigger than most characters, which is ridiculous. Should be a little bit shorter. But that's besides the point, and that's a tangent. But for more reviews like this, come to the YKB. Like, share, subscribe, and I'm out. I really do like this figure.